Without further ado, let's kind of dive into this topic today. This is definitely something, especially over the last like 3 to 4 months. I mean, we just can't catch a break here. Especially, I mean, we see people all over the country and everyone's going through the same stuff. Norovirus, right, flu, then, just random viral things, head colds, now a measles pandemic probably. Oh my goodness. So what do we need to really focus on? We need to focus on building our immune systems, right? A few years ago, we had our big thing, right? Make the immune system strong again. And this is, again, every time we are just constantly getting sickness after sickness, we need to come back to, hey, the immune system's not broken. The immune system is probably just very deficient with certain things. And what I want to do today is simply let you guys fill up your medicine cabinets, right? Herb cabinets, as we call them here. And I'm going to walk you guys through the immune system and how we at The Wellness Way go about supporting certain things so that you guys can do the same for yourself, your kids, your family, and everything there. So first thing we want to do is simply define some things. So what is the immune system? Okay, this is a question I ask my patients, where is your immune system? And they're like, well, it's everywhere. I'm like, that's right. It's all over your whole body. So this is from the National Cancer Institute. So this says the immune system is a complex network of cells, tissues, organs, and the substances that they make because they produce different signals that tell your body what to do. They tell your cells what to do. So it's not just one specific organ. It's organs, tissues, cells. It's signaling molecules. It's so much. And they help the body to fight infections and diseases. The immune system includes white blood cells, organs and tissues of the lymphatic system, such as the spleen, the thymus, the tonsils, lymph nodes, lymph vessels, and bone marrow. So truthfully, what is your immune system? And no one even really knows. No one knows everything there is about the immune system. We just know that it's all over the place, right? It is not just organs, it's cells, it's what they do. And there are a lot of different cells. So what I want to show you guys are the major breakdowns of the cells in the immune system and what they do. So when we look here, we all have probably heard of stem cells, right? A stem cell is just made by your bone marrow, but then it can become a lot of different types of cells. So these are all the different cells of your immune system. So you have lymphatic cells, lymphocytes, you have B cells, which make antibodies, T cells, which basically help to direct the immune system, and they are pretty cool. They can kill some things. And then you also have neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, mast cells, dendritic cells. There's all these different types of cells. So my question for you guys, how do you support your immune system? If you're deficient in natural killer cells, what do? This is the stuff that we have to know. We have to know how to support this because I'm going to show you guys natural killer cells are really important not only for, killing virally infected cells, they're important for killing tumor cells. Do you guys want, if you have tumor cells in your body, do you want them to be killed? Yes. So what are your natural killer cells? Are your natural killer cells functioning properly? These are things we can actually test. So what I'm going to do today, I'm actually giving you guys a little immune system crash course. And we're going to talk through some of these different cells and how you can actually support them and some of the other benefits of our herbs so that you guys can simply know, like, hey, I'm not feeling too good, right? I have the flu. What do I do? Right? So we're going to just give you all that information today. So the first cell that we're going to talk about is called a neutrophil. A neutrophil is a very important cell to your immune system, and it's part of that innate immune system where basically it's going to attack anything that comes in. So this is part of that first line of defense. So when microorganisms such as bacteria or viruses enter the body, neutrophils are one of the first immune cells to respond. They're there right away to go after things, and they will actually travel to the site of infection where they destroy those microorganisms by ingesting them. So they basically eat them, and then they release a whole bunch of enzymes, and it's kind of like a grenade going off, and it just kills them, right? It's actually really cool when you look at how that happens. But just think of how intelligent the body is, right? Because you can get exposed to infections from various places, and there are all these different signaling molecules, and it basically directs those immune cells to that area. They kind of tumble and roll along until they get to that site, and that's when they start, eating stuff and then basically poking holes in them and throwing a grenade. And I'll explain that because literally that's how I learned this back in my undergrad immunology class. It's called perforin and granzyme. Perforin pokes a hole, granzyme throws a grenade in there, it explodes, everything dies, everyone's happy. Okay, so neutrophils, though, one of the most important things is that it actually boosts, or I don't like the word boost, it actually sets up a proper immune system cascade for your other immune system cells to function properly. So what happens if theoretically we try to bypass some of that barrier by maybe injecting certain things into certain places, especially in kids at certain ages and things, if you catch my drift? Well, you can't really have a normal adaptive immune response because our body has what's called cascades. Imagine it like dominoes. If I have a domino here, 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 and here, and I want to hit them all down for a proper, domino catastrophe, I have to start at the first one. I have to go layer by layer by layer. What a lot of these injections do is they're going to go, I'm going to skip the first 3, I'm going to knock the other 2 over, the last one's down, but what about the first 3? It's mission failure, right? So we have to figure out how to support this first immune system barrier to actually have a proper response here. So one of my favorite things to use when it comes to supporting your neutrophils, which again, help with bacterial infections, viral infections, is actually chamomile. So a lot of people know chamomile for more like calmness, right? A lot of people drink chamomile tea because it helps you fall asleep. It helps with anxiety. It soothes the GI tract, but it's really important for your immune system. So this is an article here, and there's a lot of articles researching this. I didn't even realize how much of the research with chamomile is actually due to the protective effects it has on like chemotherapy medications and things like that. So this is just the effect of chamomile on the complications of cancer. Because what do a lot of cancer therapies and medications do? They basically kill your immune system. They try to get that response to be suppressed. And what they found in this study was that simply 2.5 milliliters, which is basically like a half a teaspoon of chamomile extract a day for 30 days, actually increased the absolute neutrophil count and also improved appetite in patients with different types of leukemia undergoing chemotherapy. So even while they're on these medications and therapies to suppress the immune system, chamomile actually helped their neutrophils increase. And in a lot of other articles, it shows the same thing, that they help to reduce neutropenia, which is basically a lack of those neutrophils. And then also there were tons of other things, right, helping with, vomiting and different things like that in, patients undergoing chemo with breast cancer and things. So it's super, super important to know how to support that response. Now, the cool thing about herbs, right? Let's say, I'm gonna support my neutrophils. Maybe I've got a little, bug or something going on, so I take some chamomile. What are the side effects? Well, you may have better bowel movements. You may have less anxiety. You may sleep better, right? It sounds pretty aggressive, right? These things are not going to force your body to do something. That's the benefit of using herbs because, one, they work very, very well, especially ours, because we source ours so well. They're so highly absorbable and they're bioavailable, so you get all those proper constituents. But when it comes to chamomile, think of your neutrophils. Now, next on the list, again, my favorite cell. This is my favorite cell by far of the immune system, and basically it's just because they sound cool. Natural killer cells, right? By the name, they naturally kill things. Okay, so when we look at the definition, this is a type of immune cell that has granules. That's why they're all called granulocytes. If you look under a microscope, you got all these different bubbles and dots and stuff in it. It does actually look kind of cool. But then with enzymes, they can kill tumor cells. They can kill infected cells with a virus. A natural killer cell is a type of white blood cell. And my favorite, this is also why probably Dr. Patrick's favorite supplement, right? If you guys hear him talk, what's one thing everybody should take? medicinal mushrooms. Medicinal mushrooms are by far something I will take every single day. I take reishi, chaga, I will throw in turkey tail. I just take them all. Why? I'm weird, but it's also fun, right? Because I know it's helping my immune system and they all work in different ways, and I'm actually gonna show you that today. So when it comes to natural killer cells, right, tumor killing, kill viruses, they support your immune system to handle those things. And reishi is one of the best things to support that. And also, a common supplement a lot of our longer term patients will know when you're sick, what do you typically take as a liquid tincture? Echinacea. Echinacea also helps with your natural killer cells, but reishi has a special place in my heart because reishi has major hormonal effects. It has major effects on the liver, the GI system. For guys, it's incredible for prostate health because of the hormonal changes that it makes. But here we have an article that looks and it actually talks about this perforin, and now they call it granulysin. I still call it granzyme because it just sounds cooler. But reishi stimulates natural killer cell cytotoxicity, which basically means cell killing, by inducing specific pathways, and they secrete this perforin and granzyme. So this is where immune system cascades are very, very important, because you have certain complexes that are a part of your innate immune system, meaning, right, I get an infection, these are the things that are gonna happen, right? Neutrophils, they're innate. They are one of the first people to kind of go after things, eat it up, try to get rid of it. Now, there are also these complexes that will form, and like I said, perforin, imagine poking a hole, right? So it's basically gonna go up to a bacteria or a virus or whatever it's gonna go on, it's gonna poke a hole in it, and then granzyme is going to release different enzymes that are going to kill it. Okay, so if it's a tumor cell, if it is a virally infected cell, that's very important because obviously we don't want those circulating in our system too long. That's why our immune system, when it's strong enough, it can keep those things at bay. Take chickenpox, for example. You get chickenpox as a kid, do you get it again? Well, some people do in the form of shingles, but some people don't. So what's the difference? Well, if you don't, your immune system's strong enough to keep that virus at bay. If you have maybe even just a really stressful day or week, or maybe a tragedy or something where there's a lot of emotional stress, your immune system's gonna plummet. That's when a lot of people notice these flare-ups of shingles. Or Wisconsin winter, when your vitamin D is low, and you're probably eating too much sugar because you got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, right? Valentine's Day, and all the sugar comes up, immune system function goes down, and now that chickenpox virus is still in your body, it's never left, and now it's reactivated. So we have to support our immune function to keep those at bay. So even looking here in this article, it's gonna be pretty small. I was just trying to throw everything in here, but this basically talks about the Ganoderma lucidum. That's just reishi, so that's just a scientific name. But it is a medicinal mushroom that's been long used, thousands of years. So much research on it, especially when it comes to natural killer cells. But this basically says that they're looking for the cellular and molecular mechanisms on how this works. And when we actually look at the results that they found, the reishi actually enhanced the killing activity of natural killer cells, but look at what it's killing against. So it's not only effective against human leukemia cells, but also against other various cancer cell lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different cancer cell lines that reishi is effective at killing based off of how it interacts with the immune system, especially those natural killer cells. So this is something where, right, when we're talking about true prevention, right, cancer prevention, not screening, there's a difference between screening and actually being preventative. These are things that can help you out. Okay, it's why I will take mushrooms every single day because they're so beneficial. Now, again, like I said, all these different medicinal mushrooms do different things. And now we're going to talk about B cells because we're going to talk about another medicinal mushroom here. So have you guys heard of the term antibodies recently? Maybe the last 3 years, everything is about antibodies. Do you have antibodies? Do you have antibodies? Well, tell you what, natural infection, artificial infection, vaccination, you're not going to get antibodies if you don't have B cells. Because B cells are responsible for making those. Even if you do take some form of injection, they are assuming that you have an immune system that's going to respond. If you don't have an immune system, a lot of vaccinations are actually contraindicated. Why? They're toxic. That's a different story. But when we look at B cells, you have to have B cells if you want to form antibodies, right? So B cells are a type of white blood cell that makes and produces these antibodies. They're a part of the immune system, and of course, they all the different cells develop from stem cells in the bone marrow, and B cells actually basically mature in the bone marrow as well. So when we want to support B cells, antibody production, this is where Chaga is very, very helpful. Chaga can actually support that B cell function, which is going to enhance antibody formation and production if you do get some type of infection where you need a little bit more of that memory system there. That way the next time you get it, you have that memory where your immune system can say, hey, I've seen you before, no big deal. I'm gonna eat you up, I'm gonna poke a hole in you, and I'm gonna kill you. And then you're out, and a lot of times that's when you're like, I kind of feel off a little bit, but I'm okay, right? And that's the difference between someone who has that versus someone whose immune system suppressed and they end up dying from the flu, right? We're not saying ever that viruses and different things aren't dangerous. They can be, but what is the key? The state of your immune system. If your immune system's suppressed, I would be scared of the flu. If you can't have, if you have no natural killer cells, no immune system cells, no B cells, I'd be terrified of getting anything. But I'm not, because I know where my immune system cells are, because you can test these. It's not that hard. We do it all the time at The Wellness Way. So when we look at B cells, though, and we look at some of the functions of Chaga, a lot of mushrooms contain these beta-glucans. It's found in a lot of different medicinal mushrooms. But these actually help to not only stimulate the immune system, but they actually help to modulate it, right? So think more balance, meaning if you need a little bit of immune system stimulation, Chaga can help. However, if your immune system functions way up here and you just need things to calm down, guess what? Chaga can help to calm that down. Now, what else is Chaga, beneficial for? Because if I were to go back and show you all the different immune system cells, one of the cells on there that a lot of people are talking about is a mast cell, right? When you look up Chaga, mast cell stabilization is one of the major effects that it has. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what is a mast cell, it's just an immune system cell, but its hallmark sign is that it releases histamine when it basically degranulates or kind of dies off, right? And that it can lead, if you're chronically being stimulated by some type of immune system stress, it can lead to what they're calling now mast cell activation syndrome, where there's way too much histamine in the body. A lot of people are familiar with seasonal allergies, medications like Benadryl, Claritin, antihistamines, trying to calm that response because it can make you very uncomfortable, right? From sinuses to joint pain to headaches to who knows what, right? I've heard and seen of a lot of different symptoms of that. But if you want to help to stabilize your mast cells, Chaga is something that is super helpful. One of the actually really cool things about Chaga, and we use it all the time because every once in a while we'll go travel to somewhere sunny. And if you've ever lived in Wisconsin or a surrounding northern states, we get little pasty white in the winter. And if you go to Florida and sit in the sun, well, now you're a lobster, okay? So what is the disconnect there? Well, it's something called melanin, right? So as, for us living in Wisconsin, for you guys down south, you guys probably just always have this. Melanin actually determines the darkness of your skin. So as you get tan throughout the year, you have more melanin production and stimulation in the skin. Well, Chaga actually contains melanin. So this is something where, last year, we all, went to Hawaii. The amount of Chaga that people were taking here to try to protect from getting a major sunburn was impressive. I mean, it was like a whole meal of just capsules of Chaga, right? And it works, though, because, we probably still got a little sunburn, but nothing major, right? And there's actually a lot of research on melanoma with chaga. So different forms of skin cancer because it's so protective of that area. So here's just a little article that kind of walks you guys through the immunomodulating effects of that. So basically what that means is, right, it can go up, it can go down. It supports your immune system where it needs it. And this is actually, it was a really interesting article because it's just kind of crazy when you think, like, typically if you're thinking of some type of, like, cold or flu medication, it's just trying to shut everything down, right? It's suppressing things. This supports it however it needs it. It's like, I have the resources for everything. And that's why a lot of these mushrooms are called like the mushroom of immortality and different things. Like, they have actually just really cool names as well. Now, also with this article, it talks a lot about chemotherapy protection. So the last sentence here, these results strongly suggest the great potential of the chaga aqueous extract as immune enhancer during chemotherapy. A lot of the research and stuff about these is simply protecting people from damage from these therapies and medications, because is chemo necessary? At times, absolutely, it is. But the good thing is that there are things that you can do and you should do if you do have, are going through those types of therapies to at least protect some of your immune system, help to reduce some of those negative consequences there. And we have seen this time and time again where, people do have to go through those. These can significantly help. And then the last cell that we're going to talk about today is called a monocyte. And this is something we actually, Dr. Patrick just did a whole episode on this supplement, which is a very potent antiviral, right? What are viruses? Well, the flu, the measles, COVID, most respiratory illnesses, things like that are viral. Viruses only work, viruses are not alive. They only work when they can jump into your cell and kind of hijack it for all of its different functions and machinery and things. So what if we could block the entry? That's what elderberry does. So first off, let's kind of talk about monocytes here. So a monocyte is a type of immune system cell that's made in the bone marrow, again, just like all of them, and it travels through the blood to tissues in the body where it becomes a macrophage or a dendritic cell. Now, the cool thing, both of these are called phagocytes, which basically means they phagocytize things or they eat things. So a macrophage can surround and kill organisms by ingesting the foreign material, removing dead cells, and we'll say normalizing the immune response. It's not going to boost it, it'll normalize it. During times of inflammation, though, these dendritic cells, what they do is a little bit different. And I think these are really cool cells because what they're going to do, they're going to eat it, but then what they're going to do, so say they take a virus or bacteria, they're going to actually take a little bit of that and kind of poke it through, and they're going to float around so that other immune system cells can see it and they can actually get ready. So they're basically showing it like, hey, look what we found. Look what we found. This is not normal. Is this normal? Is it not normal? And then the immune system can decide to attack or not attack. So it's called an antigen presenting cell. So it's going to basically take that and just kind of show it around. So very helpful at, again, setting up for that next immune system response, the T cells, the B cells. And this is something where elderberry really can support the function of these cells. But I figured, with the time, with everyone talking about measles, measles has always existed. It's never gone away. It's never going to go away because it is just a virus and they circulate constantly. But when we think of that, it's just a virus. Okay, so I just pulled up an article about the flu, which is a virus, and how the elderberry syrup actually is anti-influenza. And what you'll find out in general right here is that it is just antiviral in general. So elderberry shows potent antiviral activity with a different therapeutic index, won't bore you with that, against the influenza infection. So moreover, inhibition by elderberry was stronger against the late stage influenza than the early stage. These findings are consistent with clinical data indicating that elderberry can mitigate the duration and severity of influenza symptoms in patients. Now, the last sentence there is the important one. The action of elderberry is both direct by suppressing viral entry. If the virus can't get in the cell, it can't do anything. So that is so important. It also can halt viral replication because what viruses do, they hop into that cell, all of our cells divide, they replicate. Well, if a virus goes in there, it can do the same thing, but then it's replicating viral DNA, viral proteins, which of course spreads that infection. Elderberry halts that process. So of course, even if you have, you have an illness, that's something I would start taking right away. When I grew up, you go in your kitchen, you open the medicine cabinet, what's in there? NyQuil, cold and flu medication. And then it's like, oh, okay, that's normal. Go to the friend's house, they have the same thing, right? Everyone has their little medicine cabinet, and it's usually Tylenol, ibuprofen, NyQuil, different things like that. Why don't people have elderberry? That would be the first thing I would go to anytime I get sick, right? I'm always taking mushrooms and stuff like that. But anytime I get sick, I go to echinacea, elderberry, and I start to support that function because I want to stop that replication. I want to actually have a shorter duration of that infection so that I'm not sick for a week, right? And that's why a lot of times, like when we get sick, given norovirus is different, that'll knock anyone out for a good week or so. But, the flu, couple days, maybe. And yes, we still get sick here at the Wellness Way. That's called nature's booster, right? You're supposed to get sick every once in a while. If you're never getting sick, is your immune system responding? Because there's still pathogens in the air all the time. There's probably a trillion viruses in this room right now, and we're all doing okay. So just make sure that you are supporting your immune system, not reaching for different types of, medications and stuff that are going to suppress it, because you have to ask yourself, right? What's the outcome you want? Do you want to suppress your immune system? If you want to, you can. I don't care. I would prefer if you didn't, because it's not really good for your body. But what if you could take things in a manner when you are sick that helps to normalize your immune function, right? We just have to switch that gear in our head to, I don't want these symptoms, so I'm going to go do these things, versus, well, I don't want the symptoms either, but I'm going over here, right? I'm doing things that can support my immune system so that, one, it can be stronger in the long run, and two, so that I don't have to face the negative consequences of some of these things over there. But those are personal choices that you have to make. So all I wanted to do today was give you guys some of those resources, because we get questions all the time, messages, emails, phone calls. Hey, my kids are sick. What can I take? What can I give them? Because a lot of you guys watching, you don't want to do those things, and that's your choice. So of course, we're going to help you do that. So now you guys can actually know, like, hey, here are some things to do. And if you notice, what else is in the elderberry? Reishi. There's more than one thing in there that all support the immune system. Honeysuckle supports the immune system, right? Dr. Patrick, if you guys want to know all about elderberry and stuff, go a couple weeks back, watch Dr. Patrick's episode of that where he walks through that in great detail. But the last couple things I wanted to touch on today, since Dr. Alex and Christy, they showed us all the good food, and I didn't plan this. I didn't know they were going to have a little platter there. There were some blueberries in there. And now I'm starting to wonder if they knew the topic today, because different types of food can actually support your immune system. They had nice little lemons up there. Maybe I'll eat one. I don't know. We'll see if it's okay. But there's little blueberries in there too. So blueberries are probably the best food for your immune system. And a lot of people don't realize, like, you don't always have to take herbs and supplements, right? Obviously, dietary standpoints are going to make a huge difference, but look at the research in this article. I gotta say, it's kind of funny. I don't know who comes up with these things, but this article is called "The Effect of Blueberry Ingestion on Natural Killer Cells," right? My favorite cell, counts oxidative stress and inflammation prior to and after 2.5 hours of running. So I don't know how they come up with that. Like, hey, what if we made people run and then fed them blueberries? What would that do to their natural killer cells? But hey, the research and the results are actually kind of cool. So we'll pull this up. So it says this study indicates that daily consumption of blueberries for 6 weeks actually increased natural killer cell counts, and acute ingestion reduces oxidative stress and increases anti-inflammatory cytokines, which are just those immune system messengers. So right now, if you want to maintain those healthy natural killer cells, what can you do? Do you have to take, reishi and echinacea? No, eat some blueberries. It's there. The food research out there is so cool and interesting. So you can absolutely support those cells just by eating the right foods, which is why, things like from scratch are so important, because we need to get that message out there that goes back to the roots of healthy eating. Healing happens in the kitchen. The reason we're so sick and why our immune systems are so suppressed is because we're overeating and we're malnourished, because the food that we're eating has basically no nourishment. If you're eating processed food, fast food, non-organic things, right? That's why you look at a book like From Scratch, which every kitchen should have this, because it shows you that eating healthy and doing these things can taste great. It's a great bonding experience for your family to, cook a meal with your kids, teach your kids how to eat healthy foods. And then you'll see, like, hey, they don't have diabetes, they don't have arthritis and autoimmune conditions, because you're feeding to nourish the body. Our body requires certain things to function. Our cells require certain things to replicate. So sometimes I like to take things to an extreme to prove a point, but do you want your, body made out of steak, grass-fed organic steak with maybe some Brussels sprouts, or do you want it made out of Doritos? It's your choice. And again, I don't care what you do, but if your body's made out of Doritos, it's not going to function well. It's not. You're going to be extremely sick. Now, if you cook some of these meals from just the cookbook, or you start eating, some blueberries, and you try to get organic foods, you try to get good protein, you keep your processed food to zero or minimal, your body is going to feel better. You're going to have better function. It's not that complicated. So another thing, because we haven't talked about this in a while, but we're coming up on spring and summer. So, right, more summery drinks. A lot of you guys have heard about our Wellness Way margarita, right? So it's lemons, lime, but one of the things in there is broccoli sprouts. So broccoli sprouts actually contain something called sulforaphane, which is great for, right, detoxification of the liver, but it also is a major immune system enhancer. It helps to normalize the effects there because it's such a strong antioxidant. This is something we put in there. You just blend it up. It has a little earthy taste. You put some apple cider vinegar in there, get the acetic acid, helps to regulate blood sugar. Then you, of course, put some raw honey, because it's got a bite. It's pretty bitter, as you can imagine. But looking at the research here is fantastic. So if you want to pull this up real quick, it just says, this actually helps to treat autoimmune and inflammatory diseases and the symptoms that come from them. In monocytes and macrophages, so we just talked about monocytes, and they can differentiate into the macrophage or dendritic cells. So kind of similar thing. They're going to eat some things. Sulforaphane, which is high concentrations in broccoli sprouts, it stimulates the immune system by inducing a certain pathway that triggers antioxidants and anti-inflammatory responses. As a consequence of that, it's going to help with bacterial infections. It lowers the survival rate of those bacterial cells and virally infected cells. So both of them, right? And this is, again, is this a supplement? It's not a supplement. This is something that they sell at the grocery store that you can go buy and start consuming. Throw it in a smoothie, throw it in a salad. I mean, when I was interning at the Wellness Way, a couple years ago, we would actually go back. They provide us housing, everything here, which is amazing. We have our newest intern, Chet, here, who plans on opening up a practice, hopefully in Wausau. So all you guys, I'm usually monitoring the chat. There's like, where's the Wausau clinic? Where's the Wausau clinic? It's coming. Just wait, okay? But we would go to the intern house. We'd get grass-fed beef patties, goat cheese, and we would throw on a big handful of broccoli sprouts or alfalfa sprouts, because we were just learning about the vast benefits of them, not only for the immune system. If you look here, most of the research on sulforaphane is to cancer prevention. So even this article talks about it. It says it improves pulmonary diseases, but at the end it says in cancer cells, sulforaphane induces apoptosis, which is cell death. It is programmed cell death. It's going to kill things, and cell cycle arrest. That means that replication process stops. that means cancer growth and spread stops. Okay, now is this the only thing you should do if you're, at risk for that? No, that's not what we're saying. Sulforaphane is not a treatment for cancer or anything, but this is something that the antioxidant properties, the immune system activity, it's so helpful and it's so beneficial. And these are really, really cheap. They're not expensive. They have them at Woodman's down the road here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You can get them at Whole Foods, wherever you're at, Sprouts, whatever your like more natural food store is. I could almost promise they either have broccoli sprouts or alfalfa sprouts. Both contain high amounts of sulforaphane, and every store has blueberries. So no excuses. You guys can start eating those right foods to actually start supporting that immune system function. So that is really what I wanted to talk about today, just given the recent situation. So I really hope that that was insightful for you guys. And now, right, when you get sick or something, you don't have to fear. You know what to do, right? Come back, watch this again. Look at the articles if you want to. Look at all the different effects that it has. And if people question you, well, I provided you guys data. I provided you guys the evidence that shows, hey, there are different ways and methods of doing things.